frequency distribution. Which generally consist of class intervals. Which generally consist of class intervals. And their corresponding frequency. Class intervals and their corresponding frequency. So you can do deformation or construction of a frequency distribution involves formation or construction of frequency distribution involve the following step. One is the number of classes. Two, we have the class intervals. Three, we have the class limit. And then four, we are going to have what's now frequency in each class. Frequency in each class. Now, we are going to start by looking at the number of classes. We start with the first one, which is known as the number of classes. So we continue. The number of classes in a frequency distribution. The number of classes in a frequency distribution depends upon the number of items of the series. Depends upon the number of items of a series. So you continue by saying, ordinarily, a frequency distribution should not have less than 6 to 8 classes. Should not have less than 6 to 8 classes. And should not have more than 20 to 25 classes. Less than 6 to 8 classes, and should not have more than 20 to 25 classes. An ideal number of classes for any frequency, an ideal number of classes for any frequency distribution, an ideal number of classes for any frequency distribution would be that which gives the maximum information in the clearance fashion. in the clearest fashion. Now, after that, let's look at the class intervals, because after knowing the number of classes, then you must have the class intervals. Now, when we talk about the class intervals, we are going to talk about, like when I was trying to give an example, like maybe 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. So in this case, we can have the class limits. At the same time, we can have the class interval. The class intervals is going to be the difference between these limits. They're together. That's the class interval. So you continue. To find the class intervals, deduct the minimum value from the maximum value. Deduct the minimum value from the maximum value and divide by the desired number of classes. Divide by the desired number of classes. Okay. To find the class intervals, deduct the minimum value from the maximum value and divide by the number of classes or groups. So example, suppose the maximum value is 100. Suppose the maximum value is 100. And the minimum value is 10. And the desired number of classes is 15. Desired number of classes is 15. So you say the class intervals will be equals to 100, which is the maximum, minus 10 divided by 15. That's going to be 6. So the class intervals is going to be 6. Get together? So the class intervals of different classes should be equal. The class intervals of different classes should be equal. If the class intervals are not equal, then this will give misleading result. If the class intervals are not equal, then this will give misleading result. Misleading result. Now the next one, we have class limit. Class limit. Class limit. Now, so class limits are the value which actually identify the groups. Class limits are the values which actually identify the groups. This should be representative of the data. This should be representative of the data to the extent of possibility. Extent of possibility. They should be so chosen that they should be so chosen that the midpoint of a class interval, the midpoint of a class intervals, and the actual average of items on that intervals, and they are, okay, to repeat, they should be so chosen that the midpoint of a class intervals and the actual average of items on that intervals should be as close to each other as possible. Should be as close to each other as possible. Then we look at the last item, which is known as the frequency. Frequency in each class. Frequency in each class. The frequency are the values which falls in a particular group, which falls in a particular group. To determine the frequency of the groups, the tallying sheet method can be used. The tallying sheet method can be used. According to this method, the class intervals are written on a sheet of paper. It's written on a sheet of paper called the tallying sheet. Then a stroke is marked for each time against the class intervals. Then a stroke is marked for each time against the class intervals. Is marked for each time against the class intervals in which it lies. In which it lies. I'm just not going to do any example, but I just want us to go through something here. Just want you to answer some of the question here. These are just multiple choice. You nataka tufanye for the remaining time. Just get the information and then you tell me if it's true or which one is the answer. Which of the following sampling method is a probability method? Which one of the following sampling method is a probability method? No, we have not talked about that. But let me just mention that. Judgment, quarter sampling, simple random sampling, and convenience sampling.
Simple random.
Yes, is which one?
Simple random sampling.
No.
Judgment.
Yeah?
Judgment.
Judgment. Yeah. Okay. The following, the difference between the upper and lower class boundaries of a class are known as the difference between the upper and lower class boundaries of a class are known as class intervals. That's good. Yeah, another one that's now probability. If two events are such that the occurrence or non-occurrence of one event affect the occurrence or non-occurrence of the other events, the two events are said to be choice. Okay, sorry. Oh, other choices. Let me give you the choices. 1, A, mutually exclusive events. B, collectively exhaustive events. C, independent events. And D, dependent events. If two events are such that the occurrence or non-occurrence of one event affect the occurrence or non-occurrence of the other events, the two events are said to be D. Okay, that's good. Another question. The incentive offered by a seller to the buyer to encourage bulk buying is referred to as A, cash discount, B, quantity discount, C, special offer, and D, margin. The incentive offered by a seller to the buyer to encourage bulk buying is referred to as A, cash discount, B, quantity discount, C, special offer, D, margin. Quantity discount, that's good. Now we meet on Monday. Unless you have a question. Yes? Yes? Okay, let's meet on Monday. Tomorrow, and sooner class.
Excuse.
Hii imefanyika leo, umechelewa, hata sio wewe peke yako. What happened?
Ni shida za barabarani.
Huh?
Ni shida za barabarani.
Tunamcha mapema. Kama imefika town 6:20. 6 sasa sio 6:20.
Hata mimi hakuna mtu nilikuwa
Unless you put it from now. Chini kufuata. Isaidie ya. Sikona play. Mzaliwa wa Luka. Kutoka sampling levels. Naweza peke hiyo sipigi na sampling